Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. Buckle up, as it's a long one, and don't forget to listen to the end of the story to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, guys, and please like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. Alright, this is a lot to unpack, so bear with me, because I'm honestly shaking as I type this. I, 31 male, am the oldest of 3 siblings. I've spent my entire life believing that, as the oldest son, I would one day take over our family business. It's a decent-sized company that my father, 62 male, built from the ground up, and I've worked there practically my whole life. I started as a teenager, sweeping floors, and over the years, have worked in almost every department. I've sacrificed a lot, putting off personal projects, relationships, and even moving to different cities for better opportunities because I was so committed to this business and my family. For years, my dad has always reassured me that I would be the one to take over when he retired. He'd tell me how proud he was of the work I'd put in, how I had the skills and experience to lead, and how it was only a matter of time until I'd be in charge. I never questioned it. It was the family legacy, and I was set to continue it. Now, my younger sister, 28 female, has been married to her husband, my brother-in-law, John, 33 male, for about 5 years. John came into our family out of nowhere. They met at some event, and the relationship moved pretty fast. At first, I thought John was a decent enough guy. He's always been friendly, but kind of aloof, and never seemed that interested in the business. He works in some finance sector, and while he'd occasionally ask about the business, he never showed any interest in actually getting involved. Fast forward to last week. My father called me into his office for what I assumed was going to be a discussion about the transition of power. Instead, he blindsides me with the news that he's giving the company to John. He said that John has been shadowing him for the past year and that he believes John is better equipped to handle the future of the business, given his financial background and fresh ideas. I was stunned. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I've been loyal. I've put in the time and effort, and now this outsider, who again has shown zero interest in the company until very recently, is getting the business handed to him on a silver platter? I asked my father to explain his reasoning, but he kept it vague, saying it was a business decision and that John was the right person for the job. For the next few days, I stewed over it. My father refused to have a real conversation about the matter, and it started to eat away at me. I felt betrayed. Something just felt not right in this situation. At the beginning, my father and brother-in-law were not even close, and it looked like he didn't even like John at the beginning. It's only last year he really warmed up to him. But the truth came out for me not even looking for it. A few weeks after our conversation, I was at a family gathering where my father's best friend was also present. This guy has been around for years, practically part of the family, and has known my father since they were teenagers. I told him about my father's decision and how I was heartbroken and disappointed, and that I couldn't understand my father's reasoning, and that it was tearing me apart. My father's best friend didn't say much. He just went silent. But after a few more drinks, he started talking that I shouldn't worry, as the business is staying in the family, and that John is like a son to my father. I pressed him for more details, and after a bit of back and forth, he flat out said that John is my father's son from an affair. He quickly realized what he had said and tried to backtrack, but the damage was done. I couldn't unhear it. To say I was shocked is an understatement. I had no idea my father had cheated on my mother, let alone had a secret child. Apparently, my mom found out years ago, but they decided to stay together, for the family, and somehow swept the entire situation under the rug. John grew up with his mother, and my father only became more involved with him after my sister and John got together. So, not only is John my brother-in-law, but he's also my half-brother. Now everything makes sense. My father is giving the business to his real firstborn son. It was never about who was best for the company. It was about his guilt and wanting to make things right with John after hiding him away for years. I can't even begin to describe how angry I am. I feel like my entire life has been a lie, and the business I've worked so hard for is being handed to someone who hasn't earned it. John didn't grow up in our family, didn't put in the work, and frankly, doesn't even seem to care about the legacy. He's only getting it because of my father's mistakes. I confronted my father after finding out, and he basically admitted to everything. He said that John is his son too, and he deserves a chance to carry on the business. When I asked why he didn't tell me earlier, or why he strung me along for years, he said he didn't want to hurt me, and that he thought I'd understand eventually. Understand? I'm furious. I haven't spoken to John about this yet, and I honestly don't know if I even can. My sister, I'm sure, knows nothing about this. I don't know what to do. Part of me wants to blow the whole thing up, tell my sister, tell everyone in the family. But part of me is so angry and hurt that I just want to walk away. I feel like I've been cheated out of my inheritance and lied to my entire life. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for feeling betrayed and wanting to confront my father and John? Update. I went to my father's house determined to get more answers. I couldn't stand the idea that this huge family secret had been buried for so long. I needed to know the full story, especially because the more I thought about it, the more it seemed insane that my sister, John's wife, had no idea she was married to her half-brother. It seemed impossible that no one in the family, including my mother, knew about this. I confronted my father, and after pressing him for a while, he finally spilled everything. Turns out, nobody, and I mean nobody in my family knew about John's true identity, including my mother, my sister, and even John himself. My father never told anyone about the affair or the fact that John was his son. He confessed that he made the decision years ago to keep it all a secret, hoping that he could compartmentalize that part of his life and it would never come back to haunt him. Obviously, that plan failed spectacularly. What really blew my mind, though, was what he said next. My father knew the entire time that my sister was dating and eventually marrying her half-brother, and he actively chose not to say anything. I was floored. When I demanded why he would keep something that huge from her, he gave me the most absurd reasoning I've ever heard. He said that since my sister can't have children, something she's known for years due to a medical condition, he didn't see the harm in letting her marry John. According to him, because they wouldn't have biological kids together, the complications of their relationship as half-siblings was basically a non-issue. Let me repeat that. He justified allowing his daughter to marry his affair child because they couldn't have kids anyway. At that point, I didn't even know what to say. It's one thing to hide an affair, but to knowingly allow your own daughter to marry her half-brother without telling either of them? That's some next-level betrayal. When I asked why he didn't at least tell my sister after they got serious or engaged, he said he thought it would destroy her and that she was finally happy in life after struggling for years with her infertility. He didn't want to be the one to take the happiness away from her. I asked him if he ever planned on telling anyone, and he said no. He planned to take this secret to the grave. He only came clean to me because I forced his hand by digging around. He was never going to tell John or my sister the truth, and he genuinely seemed to believe that what he did was somehow the right thing, like he was protecting everyone from the pain of the truth. I've never felt so disgusted in my life. I told him that what he did wasn't just deceitful, it was cruel. My sister and John deserve to know the truth about their relationship, even if they can't have kids. That's not the point. They've been lied to for years, and I can't be a part of covering up something this awful. I left the conversation feeling even more devastated than before. Now I'm stuck with the dilemma of whether to tell my sister the truth, or let this secret continue to fester. I know it will destroy her, but I don't see how keeping it a secret is any better. She has a right to know who she's married to, even if it's going to tear the family apart. I haven't spoken to John yet, and I honestly have no idea how to even approach him. He doesn't know he's my half-brother, and I can't begin to imagine what he's going to feel when he finds out the truth. This is such a massive betrayal on all fronts, and I don't know how to unravel it without causing irreversible damage. At this point, I'm leaning towards telling my sister everything. I can't live with this weight on my conscience, knowing that she's living in the dark about her own marriage. But at the same time, I'm terrified of how it will destroy her and the rest of our family. So Reddit, what should I do? Should I tell my sister the truth? Or should I let her continue living in ignorance for the sake of her happiness? I feel like I'm caught in an impossible situation, and no matter what I choose, the fallout is going to be catastrophic. Final update. After I found out the full extent of my father's secret, how he let my sister marry her half-brother and never planned on telling anyone, I confronted him one last time. I told him straight up that if he didn't tell my sister the truth, I would. I gave him an ultimatum. Either he comes clean to her, or I would blow up the whole thing myself. He tried to argue with me, saying it wasn't my place and that he was protecting everyone. But I wasn't having it. I told him that he needed to be the one to explain everything, and that if he didn't, he would be causing even more damage than he already had. After some serious back and forth, he finally agreed. I didn't think he'd actually go through with it, but a couple of days later, he sat my sister and John down and told them everything. About the affair, how John was his son, and how he'd kept it a secret from everyone, including them. My sister was devastated. From what I heard, she was completely blindsided, and she broke down when she realized that her entire marriage had been built on a lie. She had no idea that John was her half-brother, and I can't even imagine how she must have felt hearing that her husband is actually her father's secret child. John, from what I've gathered, was equally shocked. He had no clue about his true parentage, and learning that the man he thought was just his father-in-law was actually his biological father. I can't even begin to wrap my head around that. As you might expect, my sister went no contact with my father. She's completely cut him off, and my mother is divorcing him. My father is understandably devastated. He never imagined that this would be the result. Even though, let's be real, what did he think was going to happen? He's tried to reach out to my sister, but she's not responding to him at all. I'm also keeping my distance from him. The trust between us is completely shattered. I can't believe he let this go on for as long as he did. And while I feel some relief that the truth is out, the damage is done. I don't know if our family will ever recover from this. As for me, I'm trying to focus on picking up the pieces of my own life. The business is still going to John, at least as far as I know. But at this point, I don't even care anymore. I've realized that my relationship with my family and my own integrity is worth more than any company. I just hope my sister and John can find some peace in all of this, even though it's going to take a long time for things to settle. OP did the right thing by making his dad tell his sister the truth. It's not easy to blow up someone's life like that, but she deserved to know. OP's dad's actions were selfish, and it's good that OP didn't let him get away with keeping that secret forever. I hope OP's sister can heal from this. This is like a real-life soap opera, but with way higher stakes. Your father's reasoning was flawed from the start, and it was cruel to let your sister marry someone without knowing the full truth. I commend you for standing up for her and for doing the right thing, even when it must have been incredibly difficult. Family secrets have a way of tearing everything apart, and your dad should have known better. Stay strong, OP. Dude, this is a nightmare scenario, but I think you handled it the best way possible. Your dad put you in an impossible position by making you keep his secret. Forcing him to tell the truth was the only way to keep your conscience clean, and your sister has every right to cut him off. I'm sorry you've had to deal with all of this, and it's not fair to you at all. Sending you a ton of support. OP, I'm so sorry this is happening to your family. Your dad's choice to let this secret fester has hurt so many people, and you're absolutely right to feel betrayed. I think you made the right call by confronting him and making him tell your sister. It's better that she knows now, as painful as it is, than to find out years down the line. I hope your sister finds peace, and that you find a way to move forward. Hang in there. I, 26 female, work a corporate job at a major fast food chain. I won't say my exact title, but I don't work at an office and spend most of my time visiting and coaching stores, associates. Because of this, my family seems to be under the impression that my job is a loser job, their words, despite me making well over $150K a year. I think this perception is exacerbated by the fact that I'm a frugal person who doesn't tend to surround myself with expensive things. My cousin, 34 male, is a physics professor at a nearby state university and has done very well to hide the fact that he looks down on my job. From what I understand, never asked directly because it seems rude. We make similar money, but he's still paying off his doctorate. I didn't go to college. Has a much bigger house and mortgage, and 2 kids. I'm child-free, meaning I have much more disposable income than him. For nearly 2 years now, he's been talking about how he really wants a Tesla Model X and how he's slowly saving money for it. He'll joke about how much he wants it by describing how he sees it in his dreams in exquisite detail. Well, several months ago while we were at my aunt's birthday party, cousin made yet another backhanded joke about when I get a real job and make real money. Not the first that day, and it was like the straw that broke the camel's back. I was so beyond done. I went back home immediately after the party and ordered a Tesla Model X for myself, exactly to the specifications he had described. So a couple weeks ago, I picked up my car and brought it home. I didn't tell a soul in my family I bought it. But yesterday, I had plans to pick up cousin's older son to babysit, and I knew it was finally time. I roll up to my cousin's house in my shiny new Tesla that I washed and polished just that morning, specifically for this meetup. Needless to say, cousin was pissed. He asked me all about it and strained enthusiasm and got visibly more angry the more he noticed it was just like the one he wanted. So, in what I assume was retaliation, he tried to make a comment about, "Wow, it must have been an adventure and a half to find a bank willing to give you a loan for this." Which is crappy. My credit score is great. And I laughed him off and casually told him I wouldn't know since I paid in cash, which is true. He questioned me, so I pulled up a picture on my phone of the title with my name on it. I took it because I knew he'd try to say I was lying to save face, but I told him some BS about insurance. I think that was what broke him, because he quickly ended the conversation and went back inside. But now I've been getting messages from his siblings about how I'm a petty B. Even my mom said that she thought he was a jerk, but I shouldn't have escalated just because I could. And while I adore my new car, getting back at my cousin wasn't as satisfying as I thought it'd be. So I'm really beginning to wonder if I am an a-hole. Am I? On the one hand, you should be secure in yourself and not care what other people think. On the other hand, we love to see you show them what's up, not the a-hole. I will say, the reason you probably don't feel so good right now is because buying the car didn't achieve what you wanted it to. You want your family to acknowledge your hustle and respect your career. But instead of putting you down for being a loser, they're just putting you down for being a fluent instead. And your cousin is just pouting about the whole thing. You can't beat them at their game. They'll put you down no matter what because it makes them feel better. The only way to win is not to play. Everyone sucks here. You know you were an a-hole. The real question you're asking is whether or not you were justified in being an a-hole in response to his being an a-hole. I'm going with yes. Your actions were appropriate. He was an a-hole to you about the entire direction of your life, and you were an a-hole back about something he valued. He deserved it. Of course, you ultimately felt unsatisfied. That's because you were being an a-hole, and that's generally unsatisfying. Maybe he'll shut up about your job in the future, though.